usually yells at me, but. Okay.
Okay, this is our May 28th meeting, and I think in the absence of quorum, we won't be making any decisions, but we will do some high-level discussion of select topics on the agenda. And see, maybe we should go around the room and everyone say who's here again, guest or member. Tyler?
I'm Tyler Garzo, and I'm a guest.
I'm Wendy Allop, and I'm also a guest.
I'm Colleen, I'm a member.
I'm Bill Lyons, and I'm co-chair with Fred Calcinari, who is not here.
And I am Kate O'May and I'm staff.
And I'm Bert Cohn, and aware that I'm part of the committee, but I don't know if anybody's taking notes.
I'm taking notes.
Thank you.
Good remembering, yes.
Thank
Our
you.
usual note taker is not
Thank you,
here.
Colleen. So considering the size of the group and that we really had planned to devote most of the agenda to the fourth item, completing a discussion of 2026 priorities, I think what I suggest is we go over that once lightly, but pick that up directly at the next June meeting when we have more members here, because several of these topics are listed as led by members who aren't here this time. But maybe we can just refresh ourselves on that. Does that sound acceptable to all? Okay, and any comments on the minutes? I think we'll have to leave voting on those, approving those to June.
Just that the time was listed as 6 to 8 and it should be 6 to 8.
And I had one question for Kate that actually comes under the next topic, which is committee recruitment, just as it described. So it's not changing the minutes, but just as a follow-up. So
Oh, in the minutes.
something that came up in the minutes about reviewing shared working files. So maybe we'll just jump to the next item, which is committee organization. Committee recruitment, we're down 4 members. Is that right?
Yeah, 4 is correct.
Do we have prospects? Anybody contact city staff?
Wendy's a prospect.
Wendy has.
Okay.
Yay,
And
good.
you applied?
I haven't applied
Oh.
officially, but
But
I'm
It's easy.
interested. Yes.
It's easy.
Great,
Yeah.
okay.
Is easy. Great. Thank you. Welcome. And I was thinking that one thing we might do, and I think we've said in the notes that we should try our different networks to see whether we know anyone is interested. I think that can go for the grassroots groups like the Seacoast Climate Action now and Portsmouth Climate Action. I mean, a lot of us are members of both anyway, so that may not be such fertile ground.
Do we have like any particular, I don't know, like everybody bring at least 3 names to the next meeting, or do we want to just let people filter in and out?
Maybe we should just encourage people to bring
Okay.
names, ideally, maybe 2 or 3 names. What about the idea of going back to folks who've come as guests at other meetings, particularly some people who've come more than once and have contributed to discussions and seemed interested to see if we just, because you must have their emails.
I do have Tyler's email.
Tyler, but there have been other folks the last year or two, probably
There's at
10
least-
people or so.
There's at least 4 or 5 people on the email list
Yeah,
that aren't members.
so maybe if you can send Fred and me those names, and we can suggest a few that come to mind, we can just send out an email as co-chairs, just saying there are vacancies
Yeah,
on the committee, and if they'd be interested, we'd be happy to discuss with them
yeah, I can do that.
possibilities. Okay. Then on the review of the shared working files, on the minutes, it said
I talked about that last month, or do I need
Yeah.
to follow up?
I think there's no need to follow up. I just had a question. The committee is not permitted to use working documents in Google Drive unless a subcommittee, i.e. group smaller than quorum, is meeting.
Mhm.
Action, Kate, to confirm if the resource library can be a non-editable Google Drive folder. So that was one.
Right, and I confirmed that it can't. We can't have anything that's not publicly on the website.
Okay. And then the question is on the group smaller than quorum. So for example, on our 10 topics, if we had a working group of 2 or 3
Yeah.
people on that, we do a Google shared document for that group.
Yeah, as long as you don't share it with the whole group, just
Right.
within the 3.
And can we do that ourselves directly rather than
Yeah.
having to go through you?
Correct. I don't.
So let's say on
maybe-
multimodal, if I'm the lead for that, can I create a Google document and share it with Tyler and Annie or whoever else is working on
Yeah, as long
that
as it's
topic with me?
less than the quorum, then you should
Yeah.
be good. And you don't have to share it with me either until we all come
Yeah,
together.
I mean, that way it just makes it simpler and gives you less,
Yeah.
one less thing,
You don't
one
need
more
to
thing
create-
for me to remind
yeah.
you.
You don't need to do minutes or record that meeting
No.
if you have a working.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the sharing of
I would
documents?
like to go back to the one that I wasn't through with recruitment. I have an idea.
Yeah,
I was working with 3 colleagues on a course called Sustainability and Spirituality. And we wrote up a little paragraph. And then I was on with somebody when we were doing this stuff with the UN and trying to figure out how to get that thing where she said, well, why don't we make a poster for that? And she said, let's use AI. In 3 minutes, she took the write-up that we had for our course on spirituality and sustainability, and they came up with a poster, AI did, that was so impressive. I would say, I would want to go to that course.
mhm,
And so what I am thinking is it's much more impressive if, Bill, you're going to send out to people, if we had a little poster that
Mhm.
said, and we did with AI or whatever, we write up what we want and say, we're starting the new energy towards whatever it is, put the bullet points, and then say, there's an opportunity now for people who have come before or others to visit and put it all down, and AI will make a visual.
mhm.
And then we could put it on our website and so forth. So I don't know if anybody wants to play with that, but I think it's
That's
It
really
was-
interesting.
very impressive.
So we could send as input things like our 10 topics and our website charter and.
Yeah, you put all that out, and then she made a poster in 3 minutes, and she said, that's too busy. She said, make me a poster that will go out for
Yeah.
a quick, and they did that too.
So it might have some pictures or graphics or something.
They will bring up the graphics for
Yeah.
you. You didn't even have to do it.
That's a great idea, and that kind of thing could be adapted for more general use as well, because of
Well,
recruitment.
that's what I'm thinking. I think I want to learn it because
Yeah.
when they say AI, the whole thing now, when I'm working with UN people, the big phrase is technology for good. How do we use the technology for good with a moral compass? And
Yeah.
so I would like to have a poster that, anyway,
Who would be interested in working on that? I would be subject to limited tech skills. Fred has lots of tech skills, so I can't speak for him, but he might be interested as well. I mean, it seems like it would be really worth playing around with just to see what we can come up with.
well, the other thing is, Kate, does the committee have a paid version of AI, or are we getting the free version?
Oh, so the city provides a Copilot, which is the paid version, so I can use that to try to.
Okay,
But
drum
that's
up
what, I would say if we break early tonight, let's take 10-15 minutes and go on
Yeah.
Copilot
Yeah.
and do it.
can you access that from here now?
Yeah, I can do it on my computer, probably not on this.
Yeah, so I want to put that, if we have
That'd be
to,
fun.
I think that'd be fun.
Play
That'd be
around,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's the sort of thing we could, let's see, if it's just a subgroup, let's say 3 or 4 people are interested in doing that, we could probably do that over Zoom without
Yeah.
having to sit down, sharing screens and that kind of thing.
And
Okay.
see how to use the city logo and,
Yeah,
it would be, I just think it'd be fun.
How much bureaucracy and reviews would we get into if we came up with something and wanted to stick it on the committee's website? I mean, you are really in charge of putting the content up for that. How much of a review do you have?
if it's just a posting for vacancies, I think there's like a color scheme that it has to abide by, but it's not super strict.
Mhm.
Okay.
Does Monty or
Monty
Peter have
does the
to sign
colors.
off on stuff you put up? Or?
No, as long as it's reasonable, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
But we can, I mean, if it's a poster that just is like we have 4 vacancies, this is what we do. We'd love to have someone with these qualities come to our next meeting, like
Yeah.
It's not just,
just simple.
but they
That's totally
get it visually, so it's
Yeah.
not just a
It's
text.
something they won't read.
Because what we've got up is so carefully worded, and aligned with the mission and the statute and all of that. This could take that as inputs, but then come up with something that is attractive and
Yeah,
compelling.
yeah, you could cut and paste and put that in anyway.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good. And let's say if we had a little working group on that, we could roll right along with that as much as interested folks have time, and it would be a non-quorum group, so we wouldn't have to worry
There
about sharing.
any potential in having like a regular recruitment subcommittee? Because I would see this being a reoccurring problem, just people cycle in and out, and then that would be not necessarily the only people on the committee who can bring new folks in, but
Right.
when someone new does come in, they're the ones who welcome them, make sure they know what's happening, who are responsible for getting posters out. Also, Jess had something. Jess, hello.
Oh,
She's here.
Hi, Jess, we're doing some brainstorming on Bert's ideas, and everyone very enthusiastically embracing for AI to help
Well,
recruit and get the word out.
don't put my name on that.
Hi, everyone. I'm
What you
Star.
just said. If there were a committee,
Yes.
some other things that I would like to see, if there were a committee for recruitment or for membership, it would be good to have that committee have a welcoming guidelines for a new person,
Yeah.
what to look at, where to go, so that there'd be a one pager, look at this, and look at this. And then it'd also be, if they were there, they would keep track. I don't know if Kate wants to give up this, but keep track of who's here and who's not here. And after 3 meetings, they would be responsible for, say, hey, we love that you have the time, but if you don't, we need to be clear. So that would be keeping us more in line with than letting somebody be on there for 6 months and it's not clean.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah,
you've been
I mean,
doing
well-
that, Kate, and I don't know is that an issue that would be helpful?
For keeping track of that.
Yeah, and then maybe even have a little notice that at this point, if we don't hear from you,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
that kind of thing.
Seems like the first priority is to get the interest and recruitment, but then if there's the interest, there can be kind of an orientation with
Yeah.
materials provided. And one of the things, not the only thing certainly, but one of the things is expectations for participation, that you can only miss so many
Might even
meetings.
have a Norman culture where in the culture that we go out and have a little bit of a vegan snack at some.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Love that.
Yeah, no, that all sounds really
Can I
good.
chime in?
I think
Can you hear
we're
me?
moving ahead on this AI. Let's take Kate up on the offer to play around a little bit with the Chat GPT, assuming that it's not Chat GPT, it's
What's the name of it?
Copilot. just to get a little flavor of it. But then I think if we can identify folks that are interested in and somebody that will maybe be the point of contact for organizing things a bit, do that between now and the next
Yeah.
meeting. I think that's great. And the recruitment subcommittee, do we want to do that or leave that as something to consider? Because I think it would be good to have almost a pipeline. I mean, that would be a wealth of that we're far away from, but because there are people who leave the committee regularly and turnovers of terms and things like that, and people move on to other things, but it's a problem we don't have at the moment. I noticed that in the city manager newsletter, there's a listing of committees that are recruiting members. Have we been in that? And if not, can we be?
Yep, we've been in that, Monty does it on Mondays. And then I think that's all we've been in so far. We might have something posted on the website, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, can you check to see if we can post something on the website?
Yeah.
We probably don't get that much traffic. And the
I mean, and we can post,
newsletter.
yeah, we can post stuff in the library, I'm sure, and in the lobby.
If you got a little
Center.
poster, you put it up around it.
Yeah.
You could print out.
So maybe that's one use we can make of the AI poster.
Sure.
Okay. So,
Jess had another.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, everybody. Can you
And
hear me? Hello?
Can't hear.
are you mute, Jess?
Sorry, hold on, Jess, our volume isn't working.
Hello?
The TV is off, your voice is on, Jess.
Can you hear me? Yep.
Weird.
There, you see you.
Now we can see you.
What's for dinner? Good.
Perfect.
What is that, jar of spaghetti sauce?
Yep.
Yes.
That's what it looked like.
The life of a mom. Okay,
Yes. Silent.
Your
Can you hear me
microphone is
now?
working.
No?
Ours is definitely working.
We can't hear you. Can you hear her? Raise your hand if you can hear us. Okay.
Maybe ours
Would
is.
you like to sing us a happy birthday song or something?
Well, let's thanks.
Hmm.
I know you're off mute, so we're trying to do something from this end.
He tried playing a YouTube video or something else to make sure the computer's output.
Sorry, Jess, momentary pause.
You can see Jess's mic.
Dang, maybe it's us. Oh, this looks
is that
lovely.
relaxing music?
Some calm. Oh, it's totally us. Okay. Oops. Oh. Thing plugged in on the wheel.
Are there other microphones? Other speakers?
No, just the one that's.
Can we get the sound to come out of the laptop? Outputs.
So just for your information, so far, Kate has hit her cursor at least 15, 20 times on 7 different pages. And she looks like she knows what she's doing. But meanwhile, the sound is not coming on. But we're having fun watching her.
Hey, Todd, can you get me a piece of paper?
Let me. From a
Is
Hail Mary.
the city tech fellow in the budget meeting, maybe?
He is, but hopefully he has enough time to come
Does
in.
it help if sometimes she reboots and comes back in?
I think it's our computer.
Oh, she thinks it. Kate thinks it's our computer. So,
Quick, kiddo, quick. Do you have a pen?
Sorry, Jess.
Quick, quick, quick. Hurry, hurry, hurry.
What you can do is,
Uh-huh.
write in the chat, write a note, or you can write something else.
Or you call
Yeah.
My actual.
Jess on your phone?
Yeah. Spirit Jess, I'm gonna send you an email with my phone number unless it's already in your contacts, it might be. And then if you just call my actual phone,
I wish I had your phone number. I wanted to call you a couple of times.
you know, I'm sorry, I have not been at home very much this week, so that is.
Are you a young person who's involved with life?
I am trying to feel that way. I'm trying to be a young person. in
It's not email, you should be on this one.
Oh,
You
Is
talk to
hey
Chad.
Jess, can you test it out by saying something?
Hello? Can you hear me?
We still have a YouTube playing as well, right? Try, I think I do now. Try now.
Say, 1, 2, 3.
Go.
Can you hear us?
Oh, okay, thanks, Jess.
All right,
Thank
am
you.
I here? Did I
Thank you.
make it?
Okay, now what do
Sorry.
you have to say for yourself?
I'm sorry I'm late. I apologize, and I'm sorry I can't be there in person. I am kind of catching up on the conversation. I know you were talking about AI as a way to help recruitment. I did want to share, I'm having a conversation right now with an 8th grader, soon to be 9th grader in the fall, who's very interested in attending meetings and might have some others. And I also just wanted to offer, when Evie and I were co-chairs, we did create a document that offered resources to, make sure you looked at these city plans already, and this is kind of the expectation around attendance and just some of those guidelines. So that document should already exist when we get to that point. But the more exciting news was that hopefully we'll have students in the fall.
Great,
Nice.
great. So this is an 8th grader becoming 9th grader that might want to be the Echo Club Portsmouth High.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's Echo Club. I think he might just be like a sustainably minded kid. But he actually, Lynn Vaccaro, who sits on Conservation Commission with me, connected the two of us. And he actually responded to an email tonight saying he was very interested in attending in the fall once he gets to the high school. And he would talk to other students and see if they'd be interested as well. So maybe we'll even get a couple. And he's a freshman. So hopefully we can kind of
Yeah,
throw him in for a few years anyway.
I mean, the
And we
more,
can give him a poster that he could give to kids on how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the more students we can get involved, the better. On the recruitment, Lynn Vaccaro had talked to me at the sustainability fair and had some ideas about some people she knew maybe from the Conservation Commission who might be interested in being on the sustainability committee. Do you want to check with her, or I could check with her to see, because she
I
seemed
can-
like she
yeah,
had some
I can
good
ask.
ideas.
Yep. Nope. I can ask. I hopefully we'll see her next week or in the next week or two.
That
So
would be great, because she seemed to have one or more folks specifically in mind. for
okay.
that. Great,
I'd
Awesome.
like to build on that, Bill.
yeah,
I don't know, and I'm just running as an idea. If we're talking about getting out of silos, and particularly, Colleen, if you're talking about who are you joining with, we might put out a little notice to all city committees and departments that we are now looking from a holistic, whole systems point of view. And the committee is looking to join and connect various departments. And if anybody feels they'd like to be on the committee and join us to another department or another committee, we have 4 openings, and that might be a good way for us to get out of silo mentality into things. And that could be, anybody would want to do that. There might be one. If we got one, that'd be you.
let's think about what committees might potentially have that interest. And I think the conservation and the energy committees are too. I mean, Fred serves on the Energy Committee as well, but it may be that maybe Fred could say something at that energy meeting to see if there are other folks there that would like to also.
Well, how many committees are there?
Oh, man, I don't know, a lot.
So what I'm saying is, I'd like to think out of the box. And those people are already connected. I'd like to get somebody from a
Mhm.
committee that's completely not thinking that they're even related to sustainability. However, they are.
Yeah.
For
Arts and
example,
cultural.
Yeah, that
take
was, that's a
the
good.
Arts Committee.
Yeah.
The Arts Committee could have a tremendous impact. So I'm thinking that's the kind of
Yeah,
broad spectrum. So I'd say if we have a vehicle that goes to all committees, and if we don't, we might be useful in, anyway.
is there a public health committee of any sort that
I
has
wonder.
that? I mean,
Oh,
that would be a question for Kristen.
Kristen, when she hops on, I'm not sure.
If I can add 2 cents.
Yep.
I think that a formal recruitment committee or like member management, whatever it is, committee, both for what Bert said about tracking who is on and off the committee, but also for building that pipeline would be awesome. I'd be happy to help with it. That, and the other piece being, AI is very cool, but it is deeply thorny from a sustainability perspective. So Bert, if you have like, from the work that you've been doing, like some sort of guidelines around AI usage of like, here's how to use it in like the tech for good way, like what is the approach that we could say like, potentially as a committee, this is how we would want to use AI and this is how we would not want to.
Well, it sounds like we've got Colleen, at least at the start, interested in doing some early thinking and on recruitment committee. You don't have to commit to being the lead on that, but just to get it started.
Get it moving, yeah.
Yeah, and on the AI, I think it's something to dig into. I don't know, Bert, you probably don't have the time to get into it really deeply unless you really want to and be the pivot on this.
I wouldn't be right for me to take it on right at the moment.
Yeah.
But because I've been involved with it for the last 6 months, I know some of the moral and ethical issues
Yeah.
that have come up, and they're pretty simple. A hammer. Are you going to build something that's going to serve humanity, or are you going to go out and rob a store with it? You know, every tool that we've invented from the beginning of time has had the potential to do good, and good, we're defining good by being a more resilient, healthy planet for all systems. And so that's kind of,
Yeah, well, I meant more from like a water usage and carbon emissions.
and
standpoint.
the tremendous it's every time you look, I'm aware that every time, you know, we used to be aware of turning on and off our lights. Every time I'm using it, I'm saying, is the fact I'm looking up giving more social, I'm at a dinner table.
Sure.
Am I causing more social capital amongst the people? And that's the kind of thing we're on. Anyway.
Yeah, but I think the question is, do we want to try to do something concrete on this, let's say, between now and the next meeting, if there are folks that would like to maybe join a Zoom
Get a poster.
to brainstorm a bit, beginning maybe with a poster for that. And I can try to organize a Zoom meeting of a small group that won't be a quorum. Who would like to participate in that? I think Kate, you said you would, and Bert, and I'm betting that Fred, if he has time, would. Anybody else interested? And I think that our guests are always welcome to join us as well. You don't count against the quorum issue.
I might be able to provide input as a new person.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. Well, let's start with that. Maybe sometime in the next couple of weeks, I'll see, and then maybe in the meantime, I'll send out the reminder about it, and any time that any of these folks have on the list to dig in a little bit, we can just start brainstorming, but I think the most specific product of it would be some kind of a recruitment piece. We've had Kristen join. Welcome. Welcome, Kristen. Can we check to see if your tech is working?
Can you hear me at least?
Yes, yes. Great. We don't have a quorum, so we're not going to get deeply into the 10 topics and the prioritization because we want to get a larger group in on the discussion, and a couple of the topics like the energy topic and I think the school bus topic, Fred and Effie are very interested in, so we want to make sure to hold off on that. One question that just came up was we were talking about recruitment of members and had the idea that we contact some of the other city committees to see if they would like to help be a bridge between their interests and this committee. And I asked if there was any committee that had a particularly a public health focus, or is that just cross-cutting?
Cross-cutting, yeah. That's one of my roles for sitting in on your meetings here. We don't have a standing committee for it. We did during COVID, but we don't now.
And I think we've always had our eye on health as part of sustainability, and you help us strengthen that. So I guess that answers the question on that. Okay, looking back at the agenda, covered recruitment, got into the AI possibilities. We've covered the sharing of the working files. And let's take a once over lightly of the discussion of the 2026 priorities. Let's see, Kate, were you able to get that PowerPoint set that we used to slides that we used to kick the thing off just to sort of
a PowerPoint?
Yeah, that was on the email that I sent you. That was a PowerPoint.
Was it a PowerPoint that you sent today?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was from the beginning of the discussion.
Did you send this about what?
I think
Then you got buried in there.
it's there is that prep. The message above.
Is there
The one above. You see where it's
hold on, sorry. Oh, screwed that one. Okay.
the message right above the one you have highlighted. That one.
Okay.
Okay. And
That's the agenda. Oh, you did send me these.
yeah, show the attachments. And when it's the PowerPoint. That one, the last one.
Okay.
That one. Okay, just really quick refresh of that. Okay. So, okay, why are we talking about priorities for 2026? It's what do we want to accomplish? And I think we could well take 3 or 4 months talking about this, which I don't think is a real problem because we're not going to be frozen and not move forward on anything till we're all done with the formal prioritization list. I think we can be working on all of these, and I think we are working on all of these as we go, but it's just a way to really sharpen up our focus and get everybody weighing in on how we'd like to spend our time as a committee. And we want to make sure that any of these priorities that we flag as a priority has any of these topics. We have 10 topics that all of these have people who are really interested in putting their own time into it. Okay, next slide. Okay, and
Sorry.
that's okay. Yeah, let's see. How to decide what to put in, and these are incorporated into Colleen's very nice template for reviewing the 10 topics. Are they in the council strategic objectives? That's they're listed in the next slide. Are they in the climate action plan? Are they in the current capital improvement program? Will they have an impact? Are we interested in it? Are there other reasons to flag this? And these are the city councils voted on these in their retreat earlier in the year, priorities for the city council. And we want to try to align our topics, priorities for this committee with that list of topics. It doesn't limit what we can do, but I think we are on much sounder ground if we're saying, okay, we're putting our energy into one or more of these. And I think in the template, there's a place to cross-reference these. So there's housing, parking and transportation, specifically multimodal city. And I like to think that a lot of the work coming out of this committee has helped flag this idea of a multimodal city, which is a city that is not solely dependent on cars and parking for transportation, but is thinking of alternatives for a lot of different reasons: walking, biking, use of public transit, governance for the governed. That's probably less direct: arts and culture, reduce school food poverty, preserve sense of place. So some of these may align more closely than others, but I think definitely some of them do. And I think that's the last of this. And this is what you used at the last meeting to kick off the discussion of the first 4 or 5 topics, which looks like it went really well. And I think the intent for today was to pick up the remaining topics. So I think we'll scratch the surface on those and then punt those to the next meeting when we can have a greater involvement. Okay, so let's go to the list of the topics. And I think those are at either the end of the agenda, or that was one of the things I sent in the attachment in the message. Yeah. Okay, so these are the 10 topics. And of those, from looking at the notes, the ones covered at the April meeting were the car-free challenge, the electrification of the city fleet, including school buses, feasibility and capacity study of all city-owned properties for solar. And that one, we had told Effie that we would get into at the next meeting since she's not here. Greenhouse gas inventory, Kate, zero waste plan. And the first one is the multimodal city that I'm the lead on. Coastal resilience study, Peter and Kate. Clarifying how we engage in with the public, stakeholder engagement strategy, that's Bert. Continue looking into electric school bus funding. Fred and Colleen, I think you said you'd started doing some work on the school bus.
Some gentle research, not any actual filling out
Okay.
things.
And the heat
We had a conversation.
heat resilience study, which is Kate and Kristen, which we haven't done yet, and partnering with the Energy Committee, which is Effie and Fred. So I think on quite a few of these, and what I was going to plan to do tonight was to begin with one and the multimodal city and the stakeholder engagement, since Bert and I are both here. And then after that, get to the ones that currently have staff rather than members leading, to see if we can get some members to join Kate and Kristen and Peter Britz on the topics listed for them. So that's a kind of a refresh on where we are. Let's put up Colleen's template, and this is what we're going to use to review each of these things. Topics.
In the email that you.
Yeah, the template. So template updated.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's already
that's it.
filled out.
That's it. So Colleen, you just want to run through that quickly because you used it successfully in the first discussion last.
Yeah, with
How that.
just in general.
Yeah,
Can I make this-
just the one thing I would add to that is I looked at this as really a working document, and then we fill it out as we have information. But for some of the other things, this is really a very useful sheet to continue to fill out. Like we might not know yet the 2026 goal, but we can move forward on the topics that are there. Bert?
I thought maybe one way you could use it is you did a template
Mhm.
for me, and you
Yes.
wanted feedback on it. So would it be good for her to use the template and show how she actually used it? And then I filled it out. You can look at mine,
Yeah.
and we'll get to know it by actually looking at it. Or did you want to go through it just as a blank template?
I think that makes sense. I mean, we may as well go through it with an actual topic.
Yeah, then it's more concrete.
Yeah, and I think then that helps us sort of move forward on one of the topics that's remaining.
Yeah, we could do
If that's
that.
okay with you, and then we can put up what we do now next month,
Sure, so
finalize it.
We did do that last month. We went through and filled out
Yeah.
stuff.
So you've got,
I just don't know if we should do it now without a quorum because it's technically.
yeah,
but we're not gonna vote on it, we're just gonna look at it, right?
just as a starting exercise.
Yeah, okay.
Discussion, so we won't finalize it. We'll finalize it next month and can get input from everybody next month. Does that sound okay?
I think so. It kind of rides the line of doing business.
Yeah,
Well,
let's,
Simply opine on
None
the
of
value
this
of
is
project
being done,
management.
we're learning
General.
about a form.
Yeah.
just like.
I could make up a fake project. Would it be helpful if I made up a fake project to do it?
No, I mean, maybe it's fine. I'm sure it's fine.
It's just as a for example.
I'm gonna do a for example using the recruitment committee.
Okay,
Yeah.
Then that'll be skipping work I have to do later anyway. All right, so the project title,
There you go.
recruitment committee. Group lead, we'll start with group members, so it might be me, I'm gonna just include everyone here as a prospective member on this fake template. The group lead, some groups like the zero waste group doesn't have a lead yet, just because we're not that far into the project. The project summary we do last, so skip down to partners. Partners being, who are some partners that we would want for the recruitment committee?
well, if we want to reach out to other potentially interested committees,
Yeah,
those would be potential partners, and we would be contacting them to see if they were interested in being a
their own
bridge,
recruitment.
being a bridge between their committee and our committee, perhaps through joint membership.
Well, so we have the people who might receive our efforts would be like our stakeholders. So anyone we're trying to recruit would be this, versus a partner might be like the library. If we're asking them to put up a poster, they would be
City
a
clerk.
partner, or the
Yeah.
communications director, yeah, city clerk. Versus other committees, Seacoast Climate Action, Echo Club, like anybody we're drawing prospective committee members from would probably be on the anticipated stakeholder engagement list.
So it could be groups that are potential partners with some of our high priority
Yeah,
topics.
yeah,
So, for example, Sabre might be interested
right,
as participating, but it would need to be somebody that has not only a specific sector interest like
Mhm.
transportation sector or sustainable transportation, but also a more general sustainability interest.
yeah, yeah. If we go to desired long-term outcome / next steps.
Before you go on that, let me say, anticipated stakeholder engagement. And I threw this out.
Yeah.
Rotary.
Ooh, that's a good idea, yes.
Because Rotary gave money for us to do Brightline. They've given money and they have in their mission. So we have that. Another stakeholder is the inner church council, which does all the churches and areas.
Okay,
And so we put a couple of those out. The reason I'm saying that is I'd like us to start thinking outside the box.
yeah,
And with technology, we could send out to the president, and if somebody takes it up, and we got one or two that's getting a whole new segment in.
mhm,
And we're not just specifically saying, would you like to be a member? Would you be interested in the committee and potentially being a member? If you'd like more information, here's our website, or you can contact co-chairs to
Yeah.
discuss what's involved.
That goes along with what Jess was saying. We have a youngster who is going into the high school. It's not the Eco Club. He's just a member.
Yeah.
And so I like the idea that,
Broader, pulling from many different groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because we always want to, we've been trying to do unsuccessfully in some areas is reach out to the wider community.
Mhm.
But in a way, we've also self-insulated. So,
Sure.
so that's what I'm kind of.
Expand the resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for something like the Rotary, it would be useful if we had a contact that was supportive. Is Ann Bliss still a member of the?
And Bliss is still on the committee.
so we
She's
could-
got money.
We could work through Ann.
She got $80,000 for a project in India through the international. So
Yeah, so that would be a way to do it, and we've got contacts at all these other organizations, Sabre, for example.
So pulling it back to the form, if we're looking at the desired long-term outcome is that we have a filled committee and we have a regular pipeline as people naturally just with life cycle on and off committee, we have people who can fill in.
And robust and diverse membership.
Yes, that's
Diverse
great, yeah.
membership will make for a robust committee.
So our 2026 goal would be the establishment of the recruitment committee. And do we want to say
Yeah.
appointment of 2 new members, appointment of
Yeah.
4 new members? What is a reasonable?
So let's say 2 to 4.
Okay, 2 to
Good
4
members.
new members.
Okay.
Which would also mean that our 2026 scope is just the committee.
Yeah.
Not necessarily anything bigger. The reporting structure, I think the recruiting committee would report to the sustainability committee. Maybe either we could do on demand, just as it comes up, or quarterly, or once a year.
It could just be as useful.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. On demand. There's no funding needs unless we start printing things, but I don't really see that being major. Critical success factors, what are some things that will make this work or not?
Full
What needs to go well?
committee membership, robust, full and robust committee.
More
membership.
like, if this doesn't happen, this project will not be a success. Like, if we lose access to email tomorrow,
Mhm.
this project will fail. For the car-free day, we said if it rains on the day that we're telling people to go car-free, we're gonna probably not have a very
Mhm.
successful car-free day.
Yeah. I would think that the critical success factors would be, I guess those are the potential barriers to success.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one that probably for this is not so important
Yeah, that's fair.
to put
That's fair.
in. I mean, yeah,
Impact and complexity both seem low to me relative to our other projects that we're doing.
well, it's in terms of the impact of the committee and indirectly the impact on everything
Yeah,
that we do. It is high. It doesn't, you wouldn't specifically be able to point to million metric tons of greenhouse gas reduced, but
maybe we could have a really amazing.
but if we never have a quorum, then we won't be reducing any greenhouse gas
That's true.
emissions. And the complexity is low.
Yeah.
The most complex thing I would say would be the AI recruitment.
I was going to say, would the critical success factor be that we communicate the vision and
Mm.
potential that this committee has to accelerate and scale the topic of our time, which is existential survival of our planet.
Yeah.
So, so it's like, how to word that in such a way that we're able to engage people and give them a vehicle. And so I don't know if that's a critical,
I think
how to
Yeah.
word that in such a way.
clarity and communication of committee mission,
And
And-
vision.
and vision and priorities.
Yeah.
Which I think to your point, Bill, about we can tell them these are the projects we are actively working on. We're reaching out to you because you're in Sabre. Do you want to come in on this
Yeah.
committee?
Yeah, to have a clear communication of the importance and sense of purpose.
Purpose and
that
urgency.
it's more than the sum of the parts. We've got 10 interesting topics, and if these appeal to you, great, but we're doing these for a greater purpose.
And I'd say maybe what I get in there is that there's I don't know what adjective to put in front of opportunity, but major opportunity and significant urgency in terms of time. So to get those together, it's crisis is used too frequently, but it's opportunity and thing. But to get that in there.
Well, I think maybe it sounds like what we're doing is really combining the recruitment with AI help with this recruitment topic. I mean, when you're talking
Yeah.
about urgency and scale, that's what we want to try to communicate in the recruitment, and then that will help us
Right.
move forward if we get good people from it.
If we scroll back up, Kate, and we just see scroll down slightly. Yeah, so project description is the committee establishes a recruitment subcommittee that is responsible for building and managing a candidate pipeline with the goals of enhancing the representation and expertise of committee members, and communicating to prospects the urgency and opportunity of community impact, as well as welcoming new members and onboarding new members,
is the
thank
term.
you. Onboarding new members and communicating when other members have left the committee.
Yeah.
I know that was a lot of words.
Did not quite get.
So enhancing the expertise, enhancing the expertise of committee members. So getting more people on the committee with a greater
Yeah.
bank of knowledge for us to draw from.
Yeah.
Onboarding new members, communicating to candidates the urgency and opportunity of committee impact. And making clear when committee members have cycled off. Cycled off is the wrong term, but when committee members have left.
So that's
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are
sort of
practices.
eases their burden on Kate, so it's really working with Kate.
I have a question now. If we have, since we're a small committee, we're playing. Can you take Copilot and ask them to give a project summary for given what's on there here already? And you just ask them to do it, because that's what happened for me. At this stage, if you even took out what was there, make a duplicate form. And you have everything there, but hey, hi, Peter. You have, if we make a duplicate form.
Yeah.
Take out the committee summary.
Yeah.
And say, would you make a summary, AI, will you make a summary for what?
For this
you have
committee that
here?
we want.
Yeah, could you do that in 3 minutes right now?
Maybe?
Let's play with it once because I think we're going to wrap this up pretty quickly and have some time to try that.
So
Okay,
essentially,
so
the
why don't you
form,
finish
Yeah.
this?
essentially the form is to guide the thought process of what priorities we want to happen. It doesn't have to be a final version. It doesn't have to be super specific, but the idea is that we move beyond the idea stage into an actual project stage. And then that last table where we have the factors are how we compare project to project. What do we as a committee want to do this year? So in this case, the recruitment committee doesn't really fit with any of these factors.
I would say that it would fit with the last two, the high impact.
High
and the
impact or partnership. Okay, yeah.
community, and not the others because it's
Internal.
indirect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just as we're, as a committee deciding on resources, we can say, all right, here's the scope for all of our projects. Here's the funding for funding needs. Here's the impact. And then comparing, is it in the council objectives? Is it in the CAP? Is it in the CIP? All of those things.
Great. Colleen, the template is great, and this example is really helpful. So, Kate, if you could save that, it can go into the inventory along with the ones from the last meeting, and then next month we will review this with the full committee to finalize it and move forward on the remaining 5 or 6 topics. But I want to wind up this discussion, one new thing that Fred and I came up with, which is a kind of a summary across all the topics. So that would be the one that says map. It was in at the top where it says project comparison map. And let's see. There's a second version of that lists the projects, but this is fine. So what we wanted to do as a way of putting all these up and summarizing them in a descriptive way is to place each one of the 10 topics on this map. And what we've got is it's a very descriptive attempt at costs and benefits, but not in a monetary, just purely simplistic monetary way, but that the complexity is a catch-all for costs. It's really time, money, difficulty, controversy, degree of support, let's say, from community and city council. And then the impact is, again, also descriptive and broad. And these really align with the last cells in the table that Colleen was just reviewing. So, for example, electric school bus, just as an example, maybe high complexity, but relatively low impact, because it's a limited number of buses. And that's something that the committee can go back and look at the 10 topics and just decide relatively where do you want to put these. And Fred was thinking of the size of the circle, but that may be a degree of complexity that we don't need to get into in the first, but just putting up a circle with the name for each of those, and then we can move them around. So on the second version that I sent with all the attachments, Kate, it's got a list of just like a 2-word for each topic that you could cut and paste onto the table. So that just shows you what we'll do after we've discussed all 10, and we'll put them up in the map. Any thoughts on the usefulness of that table as a concluding exercise? Bert?
Could you put the table back up?
There's-
yeah.
No, yeah, right. Bill, I would love if you would be willing, just for you, we just went through the committee one.
Yeah.
Would you talk us through where you would put that as an example? Where would you put the circle for recruitment committee on here?
Maybe.
Oh, wait, no, Bill. Everybody. Right
Okay.
now, in your mind,
Right.
you put the circle where you think the
Yeah.
recruitment committee, and then we'll all share what we think it is.
Okay, think about it. Which quadrant would you put it in and where, just relatively?
Yeah, let's get a minute or two to think
Yeah,
about.
that's good.
Is impact like physical, social, community?
It can be all of those, and it could, at its most simplistic level, be implementing a cap action and
Like
measurable greenhouse gas
Okay.
emissions, but it could be something like supporting affordable housing
Okay.
or reducing energy. Okay, Tyler, you want to take it first?
Oh, sure, I've got
Sure.
it right in the center.
You put it right in the center at the cross of both nodes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
So when we were playing with this, what you can do is go up and grab a circle and put it on there. But I don't, where it says shapes, I think if you did that.
My eyes are really bad.
Yeah, but I don't think we need to worry about that. I mean, just with us, we can just, yeah, there we go. There, click. There's one.
Tyler's.
Nice. Okay. Tyler, split the difference. Wendy.
More low complexity and just slightly above the middle line on impact towards high impact because recruitment and active members is essential.
Yep.
And if we recruit from expand the recruitment to more areas, then we'll be bringing in, I think, a lot of new ideas and new resources, new connections, which can really help again, just expanding the resources that we
Yeah.
have.
So high impact, low complexity. Impact because it's kind of a critical means to the end. If the membership is absent or doesn't have ideas, doesn't work well together, then we really aren't going to progress on any of these topics. Good. Colleen.
I am right below the line where Wendy is in terms of impact, and then slightly closer to the middle in terms of complexity. Or more to the left. More to the left. Sorry. I wish I could give you coordinates. That's perfect. Right there. Lovely. Thank you.
Good. I'll put it between all three dots. No, I think this is going.
Interesting.
I think this is going well, and it's also getting me thinking that maybe, I don't want to make this too complicated, but it may be worth doing this table for each of the topics, maybe. Because otherwise, what we would do is see if we can get the committee to agree on one circle, everybody to put, and then we get the 10 topics up on one graph. But I think we only meet once a month, and you don't want to chew up too much time playing around with this. But I think you get the idea on this. Kate and Bert, do you want to take a turn at adding? That's nice graphics, Kate. This is fun, isn't it?
It's like crafting.
And I think we should check if Jess or Kristen want to put one on.
Yeah.
I would be similar to where Wendy is.
Is that? This is this one.
Yeah, I'd be in that
Yeah.
vicinity.
Double dot. Okay, Kristen?
This is for recruitment, correct?
Yes.
I'm feeling more like my dot would be around the same as blue for impact, but closer to black, because I feel like it's hard to get people to commit. So I think the complexity is a little bit further to the right.
Right. But if you look at the distribution there, it's very positive on impact.
Yeah. Agree with that. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was going to go where the blue was, but because I heard Kristen's talk about the difficulty, I would put mine between the green and the blue, above the line between the green and the blue.
Okay.
Can I just to kind of chime in on that because I had a similar thought to Kristen, but also are we talking complexity for the committee to complete this task? Like, as far as some of our goals and projects that we want to do, besides the challenge of actually getting people to join, like the steps to do this might be a little more simpler as compared to some other projects that we might need more involvement with city council members and just other pieces to come together. Am I?
I think it's really, it's the first, it's just the recruitment for itself and not loading all the other topics onto this one. It's really
Well, I think I'm asking that in regards to the table more in general. Like, how are we looking at the complexity of this? The complexity of the work the committee needs to do, or the complexity of the outcome? If
I
that.
think it's the complexity of completing the recruitment and getting the job done, which is good members and a fully membered committee. I
Yeah,
would
so the
say.
complexity of the work that the committee needs to do.
Yeah, and that then supports the other topics that stand or fall on their own. Okay, this is good, worth saving as an example. What do you think of I think Fred and I were thinking that we would put up one dot for each of the 10 topics with the short name like multimodal or solar or waste next to it, but maybe we can do that after we've done a map for each topic.
And I think the map serves a good purpose. I think by us doing it together,
Mhm.
it did three things for me. It got me involved with it.
Yeah.
Because I had to make a decision. It let me listen to what other people had to say, and I actually changed my mind. So we're all on a closer page. So I think that is a very good exercise, and probably we get skilled at it going pretty quickly.
Yeah, and it's a good way to go beyond just sort of brainstorming, throwing ideas around and having the folks that are the leads and have thought the most about it, doing most of the talking. It's a way of saying, okay, well, what do you really think about this?
Yeah, the way we used to do this would be we'd put this chart up on
Yeah.
a chart, and everybody would take a
Right, a dot.
post it. And so I think we
Yeah.
can do it technology.
Just my concern about this is the amount of time.
Yeah,
That it
are we
takes.
having like project owners? Like in the way that if like the stakeholder engagement, if that is like Bert saying, this is a good use of committee time, I am proposing that this be on the committee priorities. Or with like the multimodal transit, if that is you saying, I own this project, I'm putting it forward as a good use of committee resources. Or like, because then we could just say every project owner should present where they think impact.
I think the
needs to be done.
project owner in preparing the template can lead the discussion and invite as much input as possible.
Okay,
But then when we get to doing this table for each, it should be much more open-ended, and people will have had the benefit of the template
Got it.
exercise and the topic owner putting his or her ideas forward. And then this is then open to
yeah,
everybody to see how it comes out, because what we're really looking for is something that people really want to invest some time in on that, and it's takes more than just someone who's suggesting the project. Okay, so let's declare success on maybe a once over lightly on the priorities. And I think on all of these priorities, things are happening, things are ongoing. There's new information happening with, in the next room on the CIP. There's the budget vote that will follow. Let's say on the multimodal, it's in the CIP for funding, but exactly how that comes out in a final CIP and the budget document probably won't know till July. But the action for me and anyone else interested in the topic is just staying on top of it and tracking it, maybe listening in or attending. the meetings, just so we know where things stand. And I think that's similar for a lot of the other topics. Okay, then I think we can conclude before we play with the AI and the recruitment, just once over lightly on these updates, and we've got quite a few of those. Let's start with the last one, which is Colleen's contact with someone that you met.
Yes.
And what you're thinking about that? What would be the most useful contribution and use of committee time?
Yeah, so last meeting I had mentioned having someone who works in biofuels come and talk about it as a stopgap between us actually fully electrifying the school bus fleet. He is unavailable in June. He offered to put together basic notes on how it would work that we could then distribute to the committee, and then we could send him any questions back and he would respond over email, and then we could share those. He's open to doing like zooming into a committee session in the future. He just wasn't available in June. My initial thoughts were, number one, I would love to get if we do an education session, doing it in conjunction with the school board might be helpful, because they have to be a part of that conversation, and that way he doesn't have to come twice. And number two, his idea of putting together notes to share with and then requesting questions back is very dependent on people then in between meetings reading those notes and sending questions back. And I didn't know if as a committee we were really confident on everyone doing homework.
I would have a question about us proposing someone outside for the school board until we have a greater sense of what his content is, particularly since he's probably a private company and would be logically marketing.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's true. Just that inviting the school board, if we had him at one of our committee meetings, just be like, hey, this is a thing we're doing.
When I was teaching sustainability at UNH, we had a guy who took us his project, biofuels, and then ran car. And so I was familiar with it. But what I'm aware now, because of what we've been doing tonight, and school buses is already on a low leverage, what was down lower in terms of its effectiveness. And it's a complex issue. I'm thinking that the school buses is not, this helps me to say, I don't want to put too much energy. If we're going to take the time and energy to get somebody here and focus, I would like to be on one of the projects that we feel is a high leverage. That's where I would be. Because I know I'm excited about that. And I know people get into it, but we're looking for so this is a helpful dialogue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you would rather just go straight to emphasizing like either other projects or the full electrification?
Well, we're talking about the
stuff.
committee. One of the most precious things we have is our committee time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we bring somebody in, I happen to love it. It energizes the committee, so that's good. But I'm thinking one of the higher leverage parts might be a better person to bring in.
I have a question. When we're talking about the electrification of the buses, there's the benefit of not using fossil fuels, but then the greater benefits that I think that most people talk about is that the buses don't give off emissions and that they're quieter and I don't know, but I looked into biofuel. We have heating oil for our home, for example, and we looked into using biofuel instead of the regular heating oil. And we're told that the technology was just not there yet, that it's really gumming up people's furnaces and things. So I am really interested in hearing more information about this. But I agree with Bert that we might not want to spend too much time on it. But if he could give us a little bit of information so that we could
Document or
review that,
something.
even personally, that would be.
How about-
Long-term.
How about if we asked him to send information ahead and then maybe have 10 minutes on it,
Sure.
not next month, but the month after,
To
just to
answer
see what
questions.
we think
Yeah,
about
to
that.
decide
Yeah.
whether it's feasible and whether it would really have an impact, switching from.
Long term, what we looked at last year was getting electric school buses and making that transition because it has so
That
many
would be-
benefits
right,
and that would be
right.
huge.
Yeah.
They are expensive. So this was more as, this is someone I know through work. And so I was like,
Yeah.
as we are finding our way to funding electric school buses, which is a committee priority, or on the prospective priorities list, if we want to cut our emissions in some way, this is one pathway to do it. That isn't just all or nothing in the way that electrification is. I think that I can ask them for some basic, like a one pager,
Yeah,
and then
and then
See
maybe we
where
can
committee
decide
goes
to
from
see
them.
if we
Yeah.
want to invite him to zoom in for
Right.
a short time.
that's what
And I think you probably would already say, but I'd say, what would be, how easy on the one pager, how easy would it be to change over? How easy would it be to change over from diesel to biofuels? What would be the cost differential?
Mhm.
And what would be the carbon footprint saving? Those are three basic
Yeah.
questions. And if those were all easy and favorable, say it was, they can use it fine, it doesn't clog it up, and you're gonna save money, that becomes a no-brainer.
Sure.
So that would be the
Is
kind
there,
of thing.
okay,
Yeah.
I will ask them for that, and then if we get to a point where either we want more details or we want to see what moving forward looks like, or we want to invite the school board in, again, where my skepticism exists in asking the committee to do homework. I just don't.
Well, it would be there
See that.
to look at, and I think then we can decide at the next meeting whether to invite him to come
Cool.
zoom in for 10 minutes, and I would want to do that before we did anything with the school board. Also,
Great.
we have Nancy, school board member on the committee, who can offer her
True.
perspective on that. I don't want to get us in the position of advocating for it without knowing
Yeah.
more about it. And
Yeah.
I think Colleen, if you're up for asking him a few questions like the ones were just
Great.
listed, and I would also add to that, are there examples of that being a practical step toward transition toward full electrification, and that we would welcome some examples of.
I love the idea. It'd be great if it were.
If it's an easy
Yeah.
win, then
Yeah.
yes, but if not, let's not, as you said, spend our committee resources on it.
And just as an example, we had a speaker from a company that operates school buses, including EV buses, who was a really helpful speaker on the New Hampshire State Climate Action Plan, and came and gave a nice presentation. And I think that got us better informed on the topic last year, and I think contributed to this as a listed priority topic. Okay, so that's the G on the updates. The Energy Advisory Committee, Fred will do next meeting. The master plan, Jess, did you want to give an update on that? They had a meeting at the community campus. Did you go to that, or did anyone else go to that? Yeah.
I unfortunately don't have much to offer. I was not able to attend that. What I've heard is that it went well. And so now, from a committee standpoint, we're just kind of waiting for next steps and to see what the consultant does next. I don't know if Kate has anything or anybody else has more to add to that, but yeah, that's.
I've heard that a lot of that presentation was quite similar to the excellent presentation the consultant gave to us 2 months ago.
I definitely think there was mention of non-car transit and providing pathways. And I think sustainability was not, the theme, but it was a theme.
Yeah.
It was, I think it was, I mean, it was a community information gathering session and feedback gathering session. So I think it went well in that way. And I think it was pretty similar to what we heard.
Yeah, and it included a lot of things we've talked about on the multimodal, particularly the dispersed walkable village types
Yeah.
of communities outside of the downtown. And all those would lend themselves to public transit and walk bike connectivity, the walk, the 15-minute neighborhood type of thing. For the resident parking pilot, we can, and this is led by the Traffic and Parking Committee, and we can have Annie give an update on that at the next meeting. I think it's up for later readings, second or third readings by the council. I think there's been a lot of discussion on that, but it looks like it probably will go forward. It involves a limited number of currently free parking spaces. Tyler, do you want to just describe how they ended up on that? What is in and what's out?
In is the program itself. It passed second reading, the second reading. The fee committee sets the prices, not the program itself, which is important. They decided to match pricing to regular downtown parking, which is very interesting.
So they would charge $2, not $1.
Correct.
Okay.
But it will continue to rise as downtown street parking is reconsidered. Might have just been matched to the garage, so I'm not entirely sure on that. The downtown worker parking program is still in on Parrott Avenue, and the program only addresses streets, not lots. It's up for third reading at the next council session.
So not the Parrott Street lot, but the Parrott Street,
which is about 90 spaces
around the library and the playing fields. And so they scaled it back from the more ambitious version they had of some other.
That included streets and lots.
Still free for residents.
Free for all residents. All residents need to do is have their car registered with Park Mobile, which you can apparently do at the tax office now instead of going down to the parking office.
So it will generate some additional revenue from the non-residents that are paying $2 instead of $1. And I gave comments on that to the Parking and Traffic Committee, really advocating for probably something more like charging the full rate and a small charge for residents, and really advocating against lots of free parking, but providing residents with a serious discount like is available currently with the app.
Is the increased revenue from those earmarked for anything in particular?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
I asked that question during public comment, asking specifically for it to be reallocated to Coast.
Yeah.
But it is not on the budget
Okay.
yet. And Colin, his last name starts with an H, and he's Councillor Bagley's neighbor, said something very similar.
Yeah.
He would be a good candidate for the Sustainability Committee.
Yeah, no, so these are topics of interest under the multimodal topic, and I think there'll be interesting, important discussions to follow, particularly if there's more revenue being generated, whether that could be used for alternatives to parking and reduce parking demand. So it's a topic, I think, of interest for this committee. Councillor Hopkins is the chair of the Parking and Traffic Committee, and is, I think, a good one to update on exactly where things are on that at the next meeting for the pilot. The Blue Ribbon Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee was proposed by Councillor Hopkins, was passed unanimously by the council. The committee was formed, has its first meeting on June 10th, and I'm assuming that Councillor Hopkins will probably chair that. I'm on the committee along with a range of other people, and I think they went to great lengths, I think, to try to get a range of people, including those with a walk as in addition to a bike concern, and maybe people with some mobility issues, disability community to participate. So it should be very interesting. It's a blue ribbon committee, meaning that it's not a permanent standing committee. So it'll have a limited duration. It will, I think, probably meet quarterly, but its organizing meeting is June 10th, so we'll be able to report back on that at the June meeting of this committee. School bus grants, I think that's something that Fred has been pursuing. Did you want to add anything to that, Colleen?
I sort of related to that, met with Androscoggin Bank. They've done several electric school bus projects with various towns in Maine. And they just walked me through their process. So if anyone wants details on that conversation, I'm happy to share notes later.
Do you want to have Kate distribute that ahead of the next
They're very light notes.
notes?
It was more just
Okay.
vibes. I can tell you about the vibes.
Well, you can contribute those in the discussion
Cool.
next month
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah, that sounds good.
makes sense. The community power is a very high profile issue currently on this. And I think if you didn't see it, there was a Seacoast online column that Effie and Councillor Tabor wrote. Can we send the link for that out? I think we could probably save a PDF of that so people don't get
Do you have
snagged with.
full access?
Yeah,
Okay.
so maybe if I can save a PDF of it, send it to you,
Yeah, that'd be
and then
great.
you can send it out in advance of the meeting before. Very, very thoughtful
Yeah.
column on that. So with Fred and Effie here next month, we can have the community power as a topic on the agenda, and Effie said that would be a good idea. And that's it, I think, for the agenda. We ended up with a pretty full discussion across things. Any other new business or other business people would like to put on the table? Okay, can we adjourn and then take a look at the? Anybody move to adjourn? I guess
Move to adjourn.
second.